Are you sure?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just excited. I'm actually a little disappointed that we don't have football tonight.
No, it's back. Give it to the quarterback. No, we got the running back.
Straight off the couch.
Here are the stories we're going to be chasing today.
Well, before we get into the stories, let me go ahead and bring in my broadcast. I'm sorry about that. My broadcast partner, the ever affable and effervescent Adam Weidel. Adam, how are you, brother?
I'm doing awesome, Terry. How are you, bro?
Well, one foot in front of the other, just kind of coming down from the weekend and now the football's going on. And
man, we got spoiled, didn't we?
Yeah, but, it is what it is.
I mean, to get a Friday game, let alone an international Friday game, not sure how I feel about the international games, especially when they start going to London and on Sundays, like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. If you're on the West Coast, it's like a 6 a.m. game.
I think the league is trying to slowly move a team over there, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's the Jaguars.
They get 2 games in London every year, so it seems. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, especially with that super fan they've got, the guy that dresses up as a Jaguar and the top hat and everything.
Well, and I believe, if I might be mistaken, but the Jaguars owner owns a soccer team in England, and he's kind of an international person anyway. So
maybe he's the guy that started the idea of the international games.
Oh no, that started a long time ago when they had the NFL Europe and all that. That started a long time ago.
So we got spoiled. We're getting ahead of ourselves. That Baltimore-Kansas City game was exciting. Refs didn't seem to have their stuff together.
No, they did not. That illegal procedure penalty happened almost exclusively against the Ravens.
Yeah, I think Baltimore kind of lost their initiative and their drive forward. Like it took a lot out of them to have a penalty every play. Like it was very frustrating.
If not every play, I think it's fair to say it was like almost every possession.
Yeah, it was pretty rough, and
if you're gonna, I don't believe that the Chiefs did not make that mistake, and the Ravens made it that often. It just, the optics of that look bad. The league really needs to have a little more parity in the calling of that particular foul.
And that one ended up almost an overtime game, or it could have been a win or a loss, because it looked like Harbaugh was going to go for 2 there. If that touchdown at the last second was good.
Yeah, hadn't been called back. That was unfortunate, because that was a pretty good game until then, other than the penalties. The laundry, it just, I'm sorry. I know Andy Reid's a good coach, but players make mistakes, and they never go against Kansas City, ever.
Yeah, and I mean we have people that are following Kansas City on our, like, they listen to us, and it's nothing against Taylor or Travis, but they do seem to be the darlings of the league right now.
Well, and that's cool. I mean, when you can tell when the league likes somebody, because for a long time the Patriots had that going with Tom Brady.
Until they didn't.
Yeah, and once they lost it, yeah.
Until the hate tour came after Deflategate there.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But that game was excellent way to start. Just the refs, too many miscues with the refs. They need to get their act together there.
I think the refs need more reps during the preseason.
I did see games. I did see games on Sunday where the refs let them play. They didn't blow plays dead, and then they'd go back and review it, and it was just things happen so quickly that the naked eye can't see it.
And I'd kind of prefer the referees to let the play, and if there needs to be something, we have the oversight of New York and the booth and all that. Yeah.
So this goes back to what we were talking about last week, our 3 points that we were kind of following for the season. Can Kansas City three-peat? It certainly looks like it right now. They have a really dynamic, amazing team, super fast guys.
Yeah.
There's a lot of speed on that team. The second point was, can Buffalo get the monkey off their back? They started off really rough on Sunday.
They did, but there was that one call that kind of turned the tide. That one officiating call that turned the tide. After that, it was all Buffalo.
And then my final point was mine were all AFC. The Cincinnati Bengals, can they get the monkey off their back? And they just had a really lackluster start.
Well, but they were missing their top two receivers too. I mean, when Joe Burrow doesn't have anybody to throw the ball to, that kind of makes a difference in the way the game's going to come out.
And, well, they went up against probably one of the best defenses in the league as well. Like there wasn't many pieces on New England that changed from last year, and there was a game last year where they only allowed 6 points and still lost.
Yeah, I remember that game. Yeah, so they are a really, I don't want to call them elite, but they're in that upper tier of defenses for sure.
They're definitely a top 5 defense.
I think the only one you can call elite at this point in time is the Niners. Oh my God, does that defense look lethal?
So that's we're skipping ahead, but let's talk about last night's game, the Monday night game. First of all, Aaron Rodgers, congratulations on making it more than 4 snaps this year.
Yeah, him and his alopecia and Alouette, Jeanty Alouette and all that. He's finally got the monkey off his back. He's through a whole game, but he didn't finish. They sat him at the end in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they were down too much, and they were like, we don't want to hurt Aaron because that's when it's going to happen.
Yeah, I can't say that I blame him.
But he was, Troy Aikman was in the pregame last night, and he was like, the Jets are the hands-on favorite to win the AFC East. And I'm just like, okay, all AFC East teams won their week. Everybody won, except the Jets. So how are they the hands-on favorite?
Yeah, if Troy could stop filleting Aaron Rodgers every week he sees him, that would be great.
Yeah. You could tell there's some bias with some of these commentators.
Well, Troy and Aaron played against each other a couple of times, so that there might be a little warmth there because of that. But come on, can we stop with all? Sure, Aaron Rodgers first round ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. But come on, can we stop with the?
He's 40, so he's not going to be playing football much longer.
There are a few things I enjoy as much as I enjoy watching Aaron Rodgers lose.
I made a point of telling my buddies that listen to the podcast. I'm like, oh, Terry will be so happy that the Jets lost.
Yeah,
he hates Aaron Rodgers.
I hate him. I don't say that about many things. I don't like the word hate. I really don't. Because it's just the negative vibe that goes along with it. But it was so nice to see him lose again.
So let's push your hate button a little more, and we'll talk about the second game of our week 1, where it was Green Bay and Philadelphia both visited São Paulo.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to
Brazil?
see that at all. Period, because it was on Peacock.
Oh, Peacock.
It was exclusively
Peacock.
streaming on Peacock, and I'm not going to invest in another streaming service just to watch 2 or 3 football games every year.
And I don't know where we're going with this whole streaming service thing. Like, Netflix has exclusive rights to the 2 Christmas Day games.
And every Thursday, Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and so Amazon Prime didn't get the first Thursday night game. That was a Sunday night football.
Well, that's the same thing happened last year, though. But the big difference was last year during that Thursday night season opener, they brought in Troy and Joe, and they talked to those two as commentators and got their opinion on the game. Kind of like, don't forget, we got Prime football next week. And this year, I don't remember seeing that. So maybe there's a little bit of, maybe the honeymoon's over with Amazon. I don't know.
So the Philadelphia Green Bay game, excellent game, fun to watch. A lot of slips. They were playing on soccer turf, and it's really not meant for football players.
Well, that and it is fall here. Back there, it's late winter. They're in the southern hemisphere, so that they're where they're at. They're in late winter, so I'm sure.
And it did rain the night before, because I did see them reporting from the field, and there was some drizzle going on.
Yeah. So I'm sure
that helps with the turf as well being slippery.
Right, and if it's not drained properly or didn't have time to drain properly, that can be a factor. So
So that game, my takeaway from that game was it was a fun game to watch. I did watch the replay of it on Saturday because I was just like, I missed so many things. Like, what happened here? I thought there was a touchdown here and it got called back, and so I just went back, I rewatched it, and Philly's pretty scary. I'm not gonna lie. They have an excellent looking football team. Green Bay does as well.
Saquon was going to add to that no matter what.
Yeah, Saquon's just amazing.
Yeah.
Just watching him was just phenomenal. That guy must feel so free now that he's not in New York anymore.
I would seriously. There's too much media attention in New York. You can't breathe without somebody being there to watch it. And let's face it, the Giants, other than their Century uniform, which, by the way, I thought we were watching football, not hockey.
The Montreal Canadiens showed up to play football all of a sudden. That was a weird uniform choice.
That wasn't a football jersey. That was a hockey sweater.
Yeah, that was a really weird uniform choice, and the tan pants made it look like they weren't wearing any. Some of them.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
that's like
wild.
That's like when you see the really heavy girl at Walmart wearing the tan yoga pants, and you're thinking to yourself as you walk by, please God, don't let that be what I think it is.
So, yeah, the Philly game turned out Philly wins this game 34-29. And, Mr. Star, I just got my big bag of money, quarterback Jordan Love, gets injured in one of the final plays of the game.
It's a very similar injury to what Jay Cutler suffered playing against Green Bay in the NFC Championship game a few years ago. And if you remember, there was a big Twitter kerfuffle because there were players calling Jay Cutler soft because he wasn't playing after receiving a similar injury. Jordan Love didn't get any of that hate. Could that be because it wasn't Cutler? Or could it be that we were educated better? Or could it be because it wasn't Don Peacock?
Pick a card, any card.
Because Cutler, say what you will about Jay Cutler, he didn't make it easy to like him.
No, he was a little bit on the dickish side.
Yeah, and that if you don't like somebody, you don't like a team borderline, or they're not your favorite team, and then it's like AJ Pierzynski of baseball. If he's not playing on your team, you tend to hate him.
So we got a nice taste on Thursday and Friday to let us know, hey, we're back, baby. Football is back. Everybody's feeling good about football being back. A lot of people crying over their fantasy teams already, and that's fine. Notable games on Sunday. I'm looking just through the clicker here real quick. Pittsburgh was supposed to be this awesome team that's got Russell Wilson on an awesome deal, and he didn't play, and your old boy Justin Fields did instead.
And Justin was told today to prepare as if he was starting this week.
Yeah, and they end up winning that game. Buffalo ends up with a really sloppy start, ends up coming out on top. Looked like Arizona was going to bash the shit out of them. Chicago ends up winning against Tennessee with no offensive points, which is crazy.
But they had a special team turnover. They had a pick six. They had a bunch of field goals. Caleb he struggled pretty bad. Part of that, I don't know if it was opening day. I don't know if it was just first time starting at the NFL jitters. But I think part of it is it's showing that they still haven't addressed the offensive line issue like they should have. In
all fairness, every week one game I watched, there was week one starting jitters. Everybody forgot how to play professional football. It was the nerves were there. And then after the first quarter, everybody seemed to settle in.
I don't know. But, I wouldn't say that about the Rams-Lions game. Those guys both came out ready for bear.
Yeah, so Chicago ends up winning without an offensive touchdown, which was amazing to me.
And they came from behind. It was 17-0 at the half.
It was 17-0.
Yeah.
New England's beat Cincinnati, which was a surprise to me. We were supposed to lose that game for sure, but as we mentioned earlier, Cincinnati had some starters out. Houston, Indianapolis, that was a divisional game. I did say last week that when I was looking at the lineups, that we only had one divisional game, and it was going to be weird, like they're going to get stacked with them. But there was actually 5. I just can't read. Uh,
Well, yeah, you're from
So-
Canada, eh?
Yay, we half the shit that we read's in French anyway. So so Houston squeaks that one out. Jacksonville, Miami, interesting game. Miami was in the tank and they came from behind to make that win after Tyreek Hill got arrested earlier in the morning.
See, and I was texting with my buddy Chris, who's in Michigan and a huge Lions fan, and he was like, "These cops, they gotta calm down." The cop was a little aggressive, but Tyreek didn't do himself any favors either.
I think he rolled up his tinted windows and wasn't cooperating. And,
I think there's.
But yeah, it was on both sides. It looked bad, but like the cops did take it a little too far. They got pretty hostile, considering everybody had their phone out. Like you had to know this was going to go bad.
Well, not just that. Here in the States, a lot of major metropolitan cities all have body cams on all the time.
Yeah, I think that's a law here, but I'm not. Like, don't quote me on that.
It depends on where you're at here, but almost every municipality has them.
You're much like state to state there. So,
Yeah.
New Orleans comes out swinging, and that was a divisional game, 47-10.
They just dog dicked them, man. There was no chance. They had no chance. It was all the Saints all the way.
Derek Carr looked great.
He looked pretty good.
Then we have Minnesota's coming in and stomping on the New York Giants.
Well, Darnold can be coached up. He proved that in that game.
I saw his highlights, and he looked pretty good.
Yeah, he does. He has streaks where he looks, first round worthy, and then he starts throwing up picks and dropping the ball, and it's all over for him. So I imagine by week 3 we'll see the Sam Darnold we're all used to seeing.
It's just a matter of time. As soon as he settles in, I think he was nervous for his job, to be honest, because they've got a carousel of quarterbacks there, and ever since Mr. Captain Kirk left.
Well, and JJ went down, and he's out for this season, and all that fun stuff. So
that was interesting. Another divisional game saw the Chargers at home to the Raiders, and that was a lambasting by the Chargers. They looked pretty good. As I said, rocky start for every team, and they were no exception. The first half of that game was awful.
It was, and the teams were. They play each other twice a year. There's no love lost between them, and it got chippy early, and it stayed chippy pretty much the entire game.
But Harborough gets his first win as coach of the Chargers, so I mean that's looking up for them. The other divisional game was Denver visiting Seattle. What a garbage game that was to watch for a lot of it.
That's not a divisional game. They're in separate divisions.
Are they in separate divisions?
Yeah.
I thought that Denver and Seattle.
No,
okay.
Seattle,
Denver's in with Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And Chargers and
they're
Kansas City.
They're AFC
Yeah,
West,
right.
and Seattle is NFC West.
Okay, it looked like a divisional
They
game.
were for a long time. They were in the same division, but
it looked like a divisional game by the way they were playing. My only takeaway from that is if Bo Nix had a little more help, he's going to be a good quarterback.
Yeah, he looked really good. I thought he showed good decision making most of the time. I don't remember seeing anything that leapt off the page at me as being a bad decision on his part. So here's to you, Bo. Keep it up, man.
America's game of the week. I hate that one. Dallas at Cleveland. Dallas looks good. Dallas is a scary looking team.
Well, Dak got the paper right before the game, so he had to show off a little bit,
I guess that's what it was. CD came and played and showed up, and he was excellent, but he didn't get a paycheck.
And Zeke's back. Zeke Elliott's back, so maybe.
Yeah, Patriots traded him back.
Maybe that's what they needed was their version of this decade's triplets.
Because Tony Pollard went somewhere, didn't he? He's not with Dallas anymore. He's on another team. I have to say, one of my favorite games to watch on Sunday was our boy Baker in Tampa Bay.
Pollard is with the Titans, and he played against the Bears this past weekend. We got
okay.
Baker. We still owe him a Dairy Queen trip, but he looks really good. And how funny is it that after Baker leaves Cleveland, he looks like a first-round pick all of a sudden, and Cleveland is just Deshaun Watson.
Cleveland's gonna Cleveland, unfortunately. Like the Browns, man, like when they had Joe Flacco I thought they had I thought they were a legitimate contender in the playoffs. I thought they would go. They were looking amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Joe's not ready.
Deshaun's got no chemistry with his team.
Deshaun's got no chemistry with anybody. I think Deshaun Watson is at the end of his career.
Yeah, well, apparently he's got some more legal trouble coming, which the Browns could be a blessing in disguise because they don't have to pay his guaranteed contract if he gets in trouble again.
And I think Flacco is on their roster as a backup. So
okay,
yeah.
But yeah, Tampa Bay, wow, like they were missing some key pieces, but man, Baker, oh, he's so fun to watch.
He is, and he's like a little kid, man. He's like so
he's
excited.
A greedy guy.
Yeah.
He's always headbutting everybody with his helmet on. And shit.
Yeah, we got a Baker, and when you're in Chicago playing, man, let me take you out to a Dairy Queen.
So that was probably one of my favorite Sunday games. The Sunday night game saw the Rams coming into Detroit after their big playoff game last year. So it was revenge for both teams.
That was a great game. That was a great game, though, man.
Rocky start, 3 and outs for a little while, and then it didn't look like anybody could score for a bit, and then they both would score, and then it looked like nobody would score for a bit, and game ends up being tied at 20, goes into overtime, and
David Montgomery just willed his way into winning that game in overtime. That was the David Montgomery show.
They played some smash mouth football and just went down the length of the field, 70 yards anyway, because I think they got it at the 30. They went 70 yards in about 5 minutes, and Montgomery was pretty much the only ball carrier through that entire transition of plays. And wow, I was saying to myself, why couldn't they have done that during the game?
Yeah, absolutely. No, they looked fantastic. And I was texting my buddy Chris, and where's Montgomery? Where's Montgomery? Sure. The guy, the running back they have is a good running back, but Montgomery was not played at all for the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, well, he was in a couple times, but he was doing those. They were doing those rotate the RB in and out situations. Was it Jamal Williams? I believe is the other back.
Yes, I believe you're right. And Williams, like I said, good back. He doesn't underperform ever, but
Montgomery's just a beast, though. Like,
yeah, he's even on your short yardage stuff. There's one time they pulled him out to have Williams do the short yardage. Why? Put Montgomery in there for short yardage. That's what he does best. Is lines up and punches you on the mouth.
So then our final game was obviously last night. We talked about it. We've got the Jets jetting again. So
yeah, I wasn't sad.
There's that.
I wasn't sad.
Okay, so this week, looking into this week, do we even remember who we picked for our primetime games for last week?
You know what? I don't think.
I think we both said Baltimore, and the Chiefs ended up taking it. You went with Philly, I went with Green Bay, so one of us was wrong there. That would be me. So don't even trust me with my picks if you're playing.
I think we both picked the Lions.
We both picked the Lions. Yeah, we did.
And I think we both picked the Niners.
I said Niners because I was like, there's no way that the Super Bowl runner-up is going to
lay an egg. The Jets. Yeah.
And they did it without a bunch of key players.
Yeah, CMC didn't play at all.
No, and Trey Greenlaw was missing from the defense, and he's a key component on their defensive end. So, and they had some other key players that were out. They all complement each other, and the fact that they could still get it done commandingly at that.
Well, I was really hoping that Leonard Floyd would recreate last year's Monday night season opener and hurt Aaron Rodgers 2 years in a row. That would have been just perfect for me.
I don't want to see anybody get hurt, but I really didn't have any faith in him making it the entire game. Well, especially after missing a season.
And Leonard Floyd, who was a Patriot for a while, and then he was a Bill for a while, and now he's with the Niners. But he started his career, his first 3 years, he played here for the Bears. I know he's a quality player, he's a good player, and I was just hoping that Leonard, can you just give him a little extra juice before you get up or something to see if he can.
I think he was with the Bucks for a short stint too.
Yeah, he's been. I don't know if he's a good player, so I don't know if he's chasing a ring or just he's a mercenary. I can't decide which it is, but God bless him for.
I think it comes down to paydays is what it comes down to.
He's a mercenary. Yeah.
So this week we have an AFC East matchup, Bills at Dolphins. So Bills are marching down to Miami. Who you taking?
Dolphins looked really good last week.
And they're at home.
Again. But I like the Bills, man. Yeah, let's go with the Bills.
All right, I'll take the Dolphins on that one because I believe Bills get revenge later on in the season when it gets cold and the Dolphins start freezing in the water.
You like the revenge game?
Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of the revenge game. Sunday this week, we are seeing Raiders at Ravens, Chargers at Panthers, Saints at Cowboys, Bucks at Lions. That'll be one that we will be watching, I'm sure, because we like both those teams. Colts at Packers, Browns at Jags, Niners are going to be taking on the Minnesota Vikings, The Seahawks visit New England. The Jets are going to visit the Titans, and I'm going to be watching that game because the Titans kind of got robbed last week.
Well, but they killed themselves.
They made some mistakes. They made some mistakes.
They killed themselves.
Giants at Commanders. That will be the garbage game of the week, in my opinion.
The Commanders didn't look terrible last week, though.
Their new rookie
quarterback played pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, he played decent. He needs to fix his helmet though. His helmet falls off way too much.
Yeah. He's one of those guys that likes the really loose chin strap, and that's dangerous when you're a quarterback.
Rams at Cardinals, Steelers at Broncos, Bengals at Chiefs, and then we've got a game that I'm actually really excited for on the Sunday nighter this week is Bears at Texans. And I want to see last year's basically rookie of the year. I think he was rookie of the year. CJ Stroud.
Offensive player of the year, yeah.
He was offensive player of the year too?
Mm-hmm.
Or offensive rookie of the year. I don't know. They give out so many damn awards now that it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, that and $2.50 will get you a latte, right?
Anyway, if you're not a football follower, he's really good. He knows how to football.
He plays football pretty well there, which is convenient because he does it for a living.
Yeah, he does. That's very convenient. And then against this year's number 1 overall pick on your Bears, Caleb Williams. Let's see if he can shake some of the rust off from last week and put some offensive points on the board, because you're not going to go too far if you're just relying on the defense to do it.
The Bears struggled against the Titans' defensive line. It's not going to get any easier against the Texans' defensive line. The Texans' defense is legit, man.
And then this week we've got on the Monday nighter we've got Falcons at Eagles, and I'm interested.
It'll be interesting to see if Kirk can bounce back a little bit, because he had a terrible game. He had a terrible game this past week.
And just when I see the Falcons on paper, it's just like it's the Falcons.
Yeah, but on paper they always look good and they always underperform.
It's the Falcons. Yeah, it's just I don't know.
So I'm obviously that one I'm probably going to go Eagles.
I'm going to go Eagles on that one. I guess you're going to take the Bears. I'm actually going to go against you. I'm taking the Texans on that game.
I want to see the Bears win, but my heart's telling me the Bears, but my head's going, there's no way they can beat the Texans. It's like there's no fucking way, man.
And the other thing about this week is there's a lot of games, so I just go over them real quick. Starting with the Thursday nighter, two teams are 1-0. Someone's going to be taking a loss.
Yeah, and that'll be a good game. The Dolphins always play the Bills close, but I think the home field advantage is going to be the difference in this one.
Same with Saints and Cowboys. Someone's going home with their first loss of the season. Bucks at Lions. Someone's going home with their first loss of the season. Vikings and Niners. Someone's going home with their first loss of the season. Seahawks and Patriots. Someone's going home with their first loss of the season.
It's going to be hard to not pick the Niners every game this year. They just looked mid-season form last night. They really did.
They were impressive.
That defense they have is special. That's a special defense, man.
And they have they showed that they still have a decent back even when CMC's not around.
Yeah, he had a hell of a game.
He had a great game, and he I saw him in a post-game interview, and they were like praising him, like how many yards he had, and how he's like, "How did you do it?" And he's like, "I don't know how CMC does it."
Well, and then there was a lot of fantasy owners that choked when he gave during that post-game interview, and he goes, "Yeah, I knew on Wednesday I was starting." And these fantasy owners are like, "What? What? You knew on Wednesday? What?" You know?
Yeah, when I saw the injury reports for teams on Thursday, and it lists Christian McCaffrey as questionable, and it said calf, I was just like, I don't think he's playing on Monday.
No. This early in the year, why take the risk? No, if it was week 17 and you needed a win, absolutely go ahead and play.
Oh, he'd play with an artificial leg if it was week 17.
Yeah, but the way it is right now, there's no point in risking it. Just let him do his thing.
So we got our picks in for this week. I don't know. We should I'll probably have to go over our last podcast, and we'll start keeping a tally of like who we picked, how they do, how the broadcasters do it. They, I don't know. They fight for bragging rights or something on that.
So one of my things I was going to watch this year.
Oh, there it is.
Was the new kickoff rule? What did you think? We actually had a return for a touchdown
We did have a return for touchdown
in the Arizona Buffalo game. So at least the early returns look like it's a good call, good thing. A lot it seems like the Chiefs didn't even bother trying to put it returnable. They kicked it right through the end of the end zone. I think Philadelphia
did see that from
that
quite
too.
a few teams this week, actually. They were just putting it in the back of the end zone so that it couldn't be returned.
Yeah, San Francisco was doing it last night as well. They were just like, here, just put it in the end zone and let the defense do what they're going to do. So
yeah, I mean, they're losing 5 yards. They take it from the 30, but the risk of, getting better field position, someone misses a tackle and all of a sudden they're at the 40 or the 50.
I think it's more about how confident they are in their defenses.
That or special teams, right?
Right, yeah, because special teams made a difference.
Some of these guys get return specialists.
Yeah. As long as it's not Velus Jones dropping and then catching your kick, you're okay.
So let's talk about, we're going to do a fashion segment.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those alternative uniforms that we saw this week. So we'll start with, I'll start with the disappointing one. Baltimore reported that they were going to be wearing their Rise Up uniforms, and they did not.
Yeah, that would I like those uniforms. I do, but
the Philly Green Bay game, two green teams go into Brazil, where green is basically like flashing gang signs, so they're not supposed to wear green. Philly decides to go with a nice little black and white number.
Yeah, they hang on. Should I let me if we're going to be talking fashion.
Yeah, Philly went with a nice little black and white number. So, it was a nice uniform. I liked it. There we go.
We're talking fashion,
Work it, girl. And then the other alternative uniform that I saw was Cincinnati shows up in all orange, top to bottom.
I always liked those when they did the white, when they were all white. I liked the Bengals all white.
The Snow Tiger or whatever it is.
But that orange is just... Do that on Halloween. Otherwise, leave it.
I liked it. I thought it looked good. It's just, I don't know. Just reminded me of one of those cougars that you see at the supermarket, all wearing the animal print.
Yeah. Well, that, and they just came from
on the prowl.
Just came from the YMCA free yoga class, and they're wearing their little Lululemon stretch pants. And
the other one that we talked about earlier was the New York Giants dressing up as the Montreal Canadiens for Halloween. Awful uniform. Absolutely disgusting looking uniform.
Not a football jersey, hockey sweater.
Even the helmet looked gross.
That was a bad sweater, eh? That's a bad look there, yeah?
Yeah. Even the helmet looked gross. There was nothing aesthetically pleasing about that uniform from top to bottom. From the tan pants to the Montreal Canadiens jersey to the red helmet with the blue smudge on the front of it. I don't even know what was going on with that helmet.
Yeah, that's their Century uniform. That's supposedly the first uniform they used when they were playing. So,
okay, well, I mean, it's 2024. Things have changed.
Time to put that one away, kids.
Speaking of throwback uniforms, Seattle came out with their little 90s number.
And I like the 90s Seattle uniform. I really do.
It's a pretty cool uniform. It's like the old Seahawks logo and everything on it. I liked it.
Yeah, I do. With the bar behind the head and all that. That's a good look. That's a good look.
Yeah, I like that. And the fact that they didn't have that sublime lime green on the uniform. It was just a basic green on it.
Yeah. That was excellent.
Dallas, I'm waiting for Dallas Cowboys to wear an alternative uniform, but they're usually wearing all white or their blue tops with their white pants.
Yeah, they do.
Gray pants.
They do the all white, so that way they always have the same colors on.
But no other uniforms that I saw, like any alternatives from the rest of the games. I'm hoping that we're going to see some more fashion this week. I love alternate unis.
I do too. It's fun. It adds a little wrinkle because you're not looking at the same thing over and over and over. The Bears often, when they do the alternative, they'll come out with the orange jerseys on, and every once in a while I see the orange helmets too. But they're always wearing the white bottoms when they do that. Just once, I'd like to see the orange tops and the blue bottoms. I think that'd be a good look.
I think that'd be a hot look.
Yeah, but they never do it. Never ever do it. Maybe I'll write George another letter. George McCaskey and I we're pen pals,
So the ones that I'm looking forward to is the Dolphins have a pretty sick alternate uniform, and I don't know if it's their color scheme. It's that teal and orange.
They do all teal as an alternate. That's a really good.
Yeah,
look.
and like it's just that color scheme for some reason it just pops. Like they could wear almost anything. Like any combination, and it always looks good.
One time I saw him with the orange tops and the teal bottoms, and that was a good look. That was a real good look.
Looking for the Ravens to wear their Rise Up uniforms, as I
black,
said. Like that one's always a fun one for me to see. Buccaneers, I want to see their creamsicles.
The Buccan helmets.
Mm-hmm. And the Lions had a pretty slick alternative uniform that it was an old uniform, I believe, but it's been revamped.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it almost looks like the Ford Mustang logo, but it's a lion instead of a horse.
Yeah. It is a good looking uniform. That Honolulu blue with the gray.
Yeah.
And when they do the all gray and they wear that alternate helmet, that's a good look. It looks like a prisoner, But this Detroit's that they're probably comfortable with that.
Are we going to see the Titans with their alternate? That's a fun one to watch as well. We've already seen the Bengals do theirs. The Steelers, they have like a yellow number, don't they?
They do.
They go reverse.
And then sometimes they go all black too. So that depends.
And then the Broncos have kind of a fun one. I've never been a real fan of their uniforms, but their alternative uniform turned my head the last time they wore it. We'll keep an eye on it, and we'll let you know who wore it best.
That'll wrap up our fashion segment today, boys and girls. Adam, they just call you Mr. Black during the fashion segment.
I love the fashion this week. It was excellent, except for that one team in the.
If you're going to go into battle, just clash.
If you're going to go into battle,
just clash.
Wear some pants.
And the last thing on our agenda, the announcers cruise this week for the national games. Brady is just not up to the job.
So that was hard to listen to. He got better as the game went on, but it's first week jitters for sure with everybody. His voice was very high pitched for Tom Brady.
Yeah, he probably got on he's probably, as he listened to that in the replay, because they go over it just like we do. I'm sure he was at the engineer's ear going, "Hey, is there anything you can do to lower the timbre of my voice an octave?"
I think that's the sound engineer's job, is to dial him in a little bit better, because he sounded very tinny.
One of the things
very
I noticed,
high.
One of the things historically, the Monday night sound system or the soundboard or whatever you want to call it, the way their sound is designed, the sound design, historically is pretty bad. I thought last night they did a good job, but you're right. A sound designer or sound engineer can make or break how good the quality of the broadcasters are. Yeah,
last night's game, I think the sound was spot on. Now, I'm I've got most of these games dialed into a soundbar and everything. I've got Dolby Atmos, and last night's game sounded better than any of the other primetime games, in my opinion.
And that was the first time I can say that for ESPN, because usually their sound design is awful.
Usually they're very tinny sounding. Like they don't, it's not a full sound.
It's not that full,
but I
rich,
was getting, I don't know what they did. Maybe they changed everything, but I was getting the crowd noises that were in the right spot. They weren't too loud. You could hear the announcers. You could hear the players. You could hear everything like clearly.
Yep, you could see you could see the collision and hear it at the same time, as opposed to a delay like happens most of the time at ESPN. So, but
That Friday night game, the sound was awful.
well,
They're away at a different arena. Obviously, there's multiple factors that would make the sound awful, but
right, and they probably were using local
talent. Yeah,
and
you know,
they're just not used to a football game as opposed to a soccer match.
yeah, and it's a soccer stadium. It's not really designed to have to hold sound like a football arena is. Most football arenas to have multi levels, so the sound gets captivated in the bowl.
It does. So
versus a soccer arena, which is more open.
So Troy Aikman, he needs to get off of Aaron Rodgers' dick. Brady needs to work with his sound guys a little more. Attaboys to ESPN, and I think the Sunday night crew sounded pretty good. But Thursday they sounded just the way they always sound. And is Jack Collinsworth probably the worst case of nepotism in sports broadcast history?
He's
annoying.
Something.
He's annoying as hell to me. His dad's annoying as hell to me, but Jack is just he doesn't to me he doesn't bring anything to the table. It's obvious.
Extra frosting on the
I'm sure
Collinsworth.
I'm sure that was part of Chris's last contract negotiation was my boy gets a shot too. I'll take $1 million a year less and my boy gets a shot,
And some of his mannerisms and stuff when he was talking, I was just like, "Oh my God, that's so your dad." The way you just said that.
Yeah, and we get enough of Chris during the game. We don't need it before the game.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm not a fan. I especially don't like people getting into the broadcast game because their family is already in the broadcast game. What I would like to see is more Jason Kelce's and retired players.
Kelsey actually received very high praise.
Know what they're talking about.
Kelsey actually received very high praise from the overnight people that I watched last night.
He looked good from what I saw of him. I didn't see much of him.
He looked good. He sounded good. He was concise. He was poignant, and he didn't stutter or stumble at all. He was right there on the job. So attaboy.
He does a video podcast. So you'd think that being the most popular sports video podcast in the world, that he'd be prepared for this gig, right?
Right, and he showed that he was. So anything else?
Yeah. How did your rookies fare? You were keeping an eye on your rookies throughout the season.
It's still pretty early, but it's pretty much what we expected. Nix performed really well. The guy in Washington performed really well. Caleb Williams, he struggled a little bit, but no interceptions. So there's that.
So we're finding positives. That's good.
Finding positives. I didn't see a whole lot of negatives. I didn't see anybody in their first year where you're like the guy in Carolina where you're thinking, boy, this was a mistake. I didn't see anything like that. So
he's still performing that mistake. Bryce Young looked awful.
He did. So that's going to be one of those that they're going to regret in the near future.
I think they were saying his first play from scrimmage for the season was an interception.
Yeah.
I don't know how you start like that and survive the
well,
season.
You can ask Bryce Young because I think he's going to be out of work soon, so he'll probably want to come on the show.
So yeah, this is Bryce. I hope you're good on a microphone because you're going to be needing one if you want a job in this business.
Yeah, you'll be like Stacey King down there. You could just be calling games for.
Getting into the local market, calling them on like the sports radio channel, whatever's in Carolina.
Right. ESPN Telemundo or something.
One request that I did get from a listener is they want to know like who the waiver wire picks are for their fantasy team. Do you have anybody that might be available?
I didn't see. I'm not a fantasy guy, so I don't know. I know that the first week of the regular season every year, teams try out a lot of people to churn the lower end of their roster, for their practice squad and stuff. People who got cut or whatever, they'll bring them in for tryouts. So that was pretty heavy this week going on in all the teams. But I didn't see any major signings from that activity.
Yeah, so one thing I did see was if anybody has Kadarius Toney on their fantasy, what are you doing playing fantasy, first of all? He went from the Chiefs to the Browns, and he didn't even make the team. He's been relegated to the practice squad.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I mean, he was pretty bad in Kansas City last year. The year before, he had a pretty good season, but last year he was Mr. Dropsies.
And that's the problem with Velus Jones in Chicago. He's dropping the ball a lot. Sure, a lot of potential. You can use him in a lot of different ways. Doesn't matter if you can't hold on to the football.
There's only one guy in this league that can hang on to the football from week 1 to week 17, and that's Mike Evans.
Everybody else drops it. Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody else is dropping it. And I mean, we're still early. It's, I always see the first 4 weeks of the season as kind of like everybody's kind of like breaking in their team and kind of grinding their teeth and figuring out what works and what doesn't.
One of the things that I found that aggravating over the weekend from a personal point of view, Matt Eberflus has never had a team prepared for week 1. They always look like they're unprepared the first 2 or 3 quarters, and that was the case this year as well. So,
and it certainly looked like that for a lot of teams.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's going to do it for us for this week.
That's a wrap.
Adam, how can the boys and girls find us?
Oh, yes. So they can just find us on Facebook, or, we have a link tree. It's just straight off the couch. That has all our links to every podcast platform, or you can hit me up at Adam Off the Couch on X or Twitter or whatever we're going to call it this week.
Yeah, I always force a habit. It's like my dad used to tell me to go to the Road Chief for gasoline. I went, what? The Road Chief? It's a Shell. You can find me on X, Twitter, whatever, at TREMUP, at TREMUP. Don't forget to go to Facebook. Join us on Facebook, because Adam and I are active on Facebook, posting little jokes and stuff all the time, so join us there. Otherwise, I think
if you like memes, that's where the memes go.
Yeah, they just call it Meme Book. So for my broadcast partner, Adam, I'm me. Thanks for joining us. We'll hear you, see you, talk to you next week. Be safe. God bless. Bye-bye, everybody.